Your $9 million in sales that I mentioned has everything to do with you staying in the office.
Yes.
Give us an idea of what a typical day looks like.
Honestly, I start my day the night before.
What are some of the other techniques that you use to get the client comfortable?
Are you ready for Christmas? Are you ready for Thanksgiving? I ask those important questions just to get to know my customer.
So let's say you've got that guarded customer on the phone. How do you get them to open up?
I do not talk over them. I let them speak so I can hear what their concerns are.
What are some of the common objections?
The number one objection definitely is pricing.
How do you handle that?
I still don't tend to back down. I offer more value within the estimate.
How do you move it towards closing the sale?
Can we get this installed for you? Is this something we can do for you?
Today's guest is a special one, Amanda. We have a great one. She came onto the scene in 2022 and worked 9 months in sales recovery and just did an incredible $3.4 million in revenue. She followed that up in 2023, worked in an entire year in sales recovery and did $6.8 million. Wow, that's really when people began to take notice. This is someone special that's doing sales recovery, and we're going to talk about what sales recovery is here in just a minute. In 2024, she followed that up with another 32% growth increase and is on pace to do $9 million in installed sales in sales recovery. Sales recovery was a huge initiative inside of Wrench in 2024. And the results show. In 2023, Wrench did $47.5 million in sales recovery. So far to date, in 2024, we are at $61.5 million, which is a 29% increase year over year. So a big initiative inside Wrench with exceptional results, led by this woman that we have on the show today. Her name is Acacia Newbon. And I'm delighted to have you here, Acacia. And I know that we've had interactions before, and I call you Casey. So I just want to make sure you're okay if we call you Casey throughout the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So I want to welcome you, Casey, to the WOW podcast. Boy, we have got a lot to unpack today. So excited to have you here. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for asking. Definitely.
Good. What do you think about when I tell you about those results and what you've done the last 3 years? I saw when I was introducing you and I was going over those results, you were waving, you were fanning yourself. What was going on?
It makes me emotional because of my growth. I'm sorry. When I first started, I wanted more for myself and my family. So it just seeing the growth and everything and everyone that poured into me, and to see that now is just a wowing experience. It really is. And I can't find the words for it, but I feel good. Definitely.
So great, Casey. I love the emotion. You know why I love the emotion? Because it tells me you care so much. It tells me that you're passionate. It tells me that you love what you're doing. And it tells me that you're making a difference. And you certainly are. You certainly are leading the way with regards to sales recovery inside of Wrench, at Parker. And I just want to say thank you for all your work, because we worked together a little bit in the past with you helping out the other sales recovery agents. So let's learn a little bit about Casey.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Absolutely. I grew up in Surprise, Arizona, and I'm a mother of a wonderful son, Kai, and my fiance, of course, who has my back 100%, as well as my son. Regarding my career, I started in Parker and Sons about 11 years ago. I made my way starting in the call center as a CSR.
Yes.
Okay. As I was going through schooling as well as working, I went to school for a sonographer. So working, being a mom, going to school, it was tough. But you know what? I had a really amazing manager, Teresa Flores, who was honestly, she put her heart and everything into me and helped me get through the process night and day, honestly. You know? So as I finished my externship as a sonographer, life took a turn. My mother, she fell ill with breast cancer, and she shortly passed away after I finished my externship as a sonographer. And then a couple months after that, my grandmother, her mom, she passed away with dementia. So as you see, I try my best to finish it through and, do my prerequisites and finish everything and, get the job. But it just took a toll on me and it was hard. So I just honestly, I made my way back to Parker and Sons. Teresa, she gave me with open arms. And after that, I then went in the call center for maybe a couple years after that. I saw a position open up, of course, with sales recovery. I reached out to Adriana and I fell in love.
Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely.
That's great. And I would imagine you had some success in the call centers and
absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And they saw that you had some success. They saw that you could talk to clients and communicate to clients.
For sure.
And so when Adriana, when you saw that position open up and you went to talk to Adriana about it, I'm sure she was like, let's do this. Let's go.
For sure. Yeah.
And what year? That was in 2022, right? That was in about March of 2022.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then you just took off.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So for our listeners, can you just kind of give us a brief explanation of what sales recovery is at Parker and what you do every day?
Absolutely. So sales recovery, of course, is going in after a comfort consultant goes out to quote a customer on an HVAC system. Of course, they do a heat load calculation of the home to see what the home calls for. We come in as sales recovery agents, ask the customer, of course, how the visit went, if their experience went well, if the comfort consultant answered all of their questions, if he was knowledgeable, and what else can we do for them?
So you're really 9 million in sales that I mentioned a minute ago has everything to do with you staying in the office. Are you ever going out in the field?
We actually went out once with the comfort consultants.
One time. But as far as doing the 9 million, you're doing this all over the phone. You're following up behind. Okay.
Yes, sorry.
No, that's great. That's great. So give us an idea of what a typical day looks like for Casey.
Absolutely. Honestly, I start my day the night before. So I actually tend to pull up an Excel sheet of all the calls that day for the next day. So I can actually enter in the notes of what the comfort consultant states as far as how the visit went, what they offered for financing. If it was just a one-legger, meaning they met with just either the wife or the husband. Mm-hmm. If they went over whether it was a single stage, 2-stage, variable speed system, all of the above. So that information is very important for a sales recovery agent to come in. So that way they know what they're getting themselves into the next day once they make that call.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure you're totally informed. And what are some of the things that you're looking for when you're combing through that data? I know you said single stage, 2-stage, anything else that you're looking for?
Absolutely. Of course, if they cannot afford it, we want to make sure that it's affordable for them. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure, of course, they offered financing. So with that being said, that would help me be able to give them that financing that they need so we can make it affordable for them and just break it down for them. Mm-hmm. If it's just one person or one legger, we want to make sure that we get that husband or wife on the phone so we can make that connection.
And so you're doing that. You're looking to get the husband and wife on the phone together.
Absolutely.
How do you do that?
It's easy as just asking the question. If you don't ask, you can't get it, honestly.
Yeah. Well, there's a great nugget right there. Right there.
For sure.
It's something my father taught me. You never get anything in life unless you ask. So you're just asking the client, hey, how do we get your husband on the phone? Because of why? What do you tell them?
If you do not mind me asking, that's how I start.
Okay.
If you do not mind me asking, would it be okay if we get your wife or your husband on the line so that way we can go over the important information? So you guys are a team. You're an item. So we want to make sure you make this decision together.
Okay. So you're complimenting them, saying you're a team, you're an item. I just want to make sure that we get that nugget. There's a great nugget right there. Okay. So you're getting ready the night before. You're taking the notes that you need to, that you're plugging in, so you're ready when you get in. Give me a sense of what your mindset is when you're getting ready to start your calls that allows you to have the success that you have.
Absolutely. I start my day with a prayer. I really do. I talk to God and ask him to go before me, before I start my day, so I can have a successful day. And of course, use me, guide me, strengthen me, so I can make sure I can make a good connection with every customer that I come in contact to.
So it sounds like you're coming from a place of gratitude. And does gratitude fit in there anywhere?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Share with me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So with that being said, with having everything in front of me before I start my call, I want to make sure that I have everything up in front of me as far as the estimate, the notes from the comfort consultant, the information as far as what I need to move that customer to the next step. If I don't have what I need, I have a process. So if I don't have what I need, I can't move forward. So when I get that information, I call a customer, ask them how their experience was. And after that, and just get comfortable with the customer. You have to tell a story, but that's my gratitude. I want to make sure that I am comfortable with making that call and having what I need in order to be successful.
Great.
Yes, sir.
So let's think about or take a call. Share with me your approach. Like, you're about ready to make this phone call. What is it like, that first interaction where you make a phone call to a client? What does that sound like?
Okay, so telling you just so you can visualize it and understand what I do. Okay, so I sit back in my chair. The screen is open. I have everything I need in order to call the customer. So I'm relaxed and calm. I hit the dial. Hi, this is Acacia with Parker and Sons. I'm calling on behalf of Kevin, who came out to your home yesterday. We wanted to make sure that you had a good experience. He was knowledgeable. He answered all of your questions, and I let them answer. So I just let them open up to me so, they can kind of let their guard down, because we've already come out to kind of do a hard sell. So with that said, I let them answer. And then after that, of course, was there any other questions that you thought of after the comfort consultant left? Let them answer. Okay, good. And then you read the question or the statement the notes from the comfort consultant, and just go down. I see he stated this, I see he stated this, and let them answer. Okay, I see we left 2 or 3 options here. If you don't mind me asking, which one is more to your liking, if you will?
Yes.
So just getting them comfortable. And then after they state that, of course, I kind of tend to take a step back and how was your day? You know, just to get a good feel of the customer. And we honestly just start having a conversation. It's literally a conversation of getting to know every single person I speak with.
So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you go in talking about the business at hand, talking about, hey, we know we were out there yesterday. These were a couple of options. Which one are you leaning towards? And then you start talking a little bit more about how their day was, or is that what I'm understanding?
Absolutely. I just kind of take it a step back. I don't want it to be too aggressive. I just want to make sure that I get what the customer needs and their wants. And then I take a step back to kind of just ease in. And then we can then talk about the estimate.
Okay.
Go more in depth into the estimate, if you will.
Yeah. Let's expand on that a little bit more. So share with me, what are some of the other techniques that you use to get the client comfortable?
Absolutely. So of course it would be just their day, how they're doing, what they like. We can ask them if what's their favorite sports team. Are you all ready? Depending if it's the holidays, are you all ready for Christmas? Are you ready for Thanksgiving? I ask those important questions just to get to know my customer more in depth.
Okay, good. And then, so let's say you've got that guarded customer on the phone, like they're doing everything to stay closed. How do you get them to open up? Like, yep, the one that's giving you the short answers. Yep, everything was great. The comfort consultant was fine. Tell me what you do with that client.
Good question. I honestly just let them open up. Just let them talk. I do not talk over them. I let them speak so I can hear what their concerns are, because obviously there weren't any questions that were asked at the time of service that the customer needed. So I just let them open up, ask those important questions so we can get to where the customer was wanting to be in the first place. And that really helps. That really tends to help and let the guard down for that customer because he or she needed that. Definitely.
Yeah. And then what are some things that you're looking for that tell you that, okay, this is going in the direction that we want it to be going in? What are some signs?
The signs are if the customer is asking multiple questions, if it's financing questions, warranty questions, when can we install? That's the number one right there. When can we install? They really want to make sure that they can get this done right away. And we are next day installs. So those important questions, definitely.
Yeah. And I would love it. If I was a recovery agent, I'd love that. If every client said, hey, Casey, when can we get this installed? It's getting that client to that point that I want to dig in a little bit further with you, because that to me is where the magic is. What it sounds to me like you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you're wanting to get the client to talk. I mean, I know you said that you're asking them questions, but is that with the intent to get them to open up? Because you said those words, like get them to open up. Am I tracking you right there?
No, you're right. Absolutely. Because if they don't speak and let you know what they want, you don't know what they want.
Right.
You have to get them to open up so you can get those key points and either enter them into the estimate or do what you can do on the back end for that customer. I'm going to help all the way around any way that I can. So as long as if you can help me, I can help you.
Right. You mentioned earlier about financing.
Yes.
And about affordability and about, how we can make this affordable to the client. How much time do you spend on that portion of the call?
Good question. It could be about maybe 15 minutes at the most.
Okay.
It could be.
So,
and that just all.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. That just all depends on what they could afford at that time. I mean, if we're talking now, or if we're talking 6 months or to a year from now, we want to see what we can do to expand that time with a good loan term so we can make it affordable for them, or we can cut it down to a daily price for them.
And are you doing that with them? Are you breaking it down? If you break it
Yes,
down
sir.
to the daily price, that's a technique called an old
Net
technique called
investment.
reduction to the ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's like reducing it down to $3 to $4 a day.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
are you that close to the pricing of the job that you're able to talk to the client about that? And tell me a little bit about your knowledge on the financing piece.
On the financing, yes, we have to make sure that we understand the financing terms. So there are numbers that are connected with either 180 months, 120 months, 12 months, no interest, no pay option. So there is a number, a 4-digit number that's connected to each loan term. So we have to make sure that we understand what we're going to enter into the financing loan, so we can make sure it fits the customer's story, if you will. You
So
know,
yeah, so if I've got a client and I know they've chosen the 120 or let's say the 180 month program, are
hmm
you aware of how much that client is going to be paying on a monthly basis?
absolutely.
Okay.
I take the total amount, I enter it into Service Finance's portal. It then, of course, calculates, and you actually have to enter the information in total amount, the APR rate, and then, of course, the loan term, and then it'll calculate the monthly payment for you.
Okay. And are you
hmm
doing anything beyond that with regards to energy savings in order to get them their net monthly payment?
Absolutely. I use a SEER energy savings calculator.
Okay.
This is actually specifically for Arizona, but you enter in the current SEER rating. Currently, we are all about an 8 or 9 SEER in our home with the older system. And then we enter in, of course, the tonnage of the unit, whether it's 3, 4, 5 tons. And then, of course, the SEER rating that they're wanting to install. And then it gives you a breakdown percentage wise of what the customer is currently consuming in electricity now. And then, of course, on what they would be consuming energy efficiency within the next 5, 10, 15, and 20 years. So it really tends to help.
Okay. So you're taking their financing payment, right? Just so I understand, let's say it's $180 a month, or for easy math, let's say it's $200 a month. Okay. And then you're taking off the savings they're going to recoup if they replace their system. So if it's $60 a month, the energy savings. So now we've gotten it down to 140, let's say, right? And then you take that 140 and you divide by a number of working days, like divided by 30. And then you can get the client how much they're paying per day, correct? Yeah,
Absolutely.
is that right? I don't want to put, but the key thing here that I think is really magical is you're doing that.
Yes.
Meaning you're going to that extreme, you're going to that extent, even though the salesperson or the comfort consultant might have done it. It sounds like you're going over it again with the client. Is that correct? Or share with me about that.
No, you're right. Absolutely. Even though, yes, the comfort consultant went over everything, I want to make sure to go over it again, slow and easy, so the customer understands it's a huge investment. So I want to make sure it's a smooth and easy process for every customer that I speak with. One and done.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make sure I ask all the important questions so we can make sure it's a pleasant experience and the customer is wowed at the end of every conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's stay on the financing piece, because I think there's another financing component, which is the 12-month, no interest, no payments. And are you
Yes.
using that part? Are you using Like, hey, we can get this installed for you. Tell me how you use that, the
Absolutely.
promotional financing where they've got 6 months, no interest with payments, whatever. Sure, go.
Yeah,
Tell me how you use that as well with the client.
abs- absolutely. So now currently, since we are at the end of the year, if a customer were to be leaving out of state for the holidays, if they can't afford it currently at this moment, 12 months, no interest, no pay, you do not have a minimum payment to make for the current amount that you are looking at now. So with that said, 12 months, no interest, no pay would allow you to install your system, get acclimated with your unit, be comfortable, and you wouldn't have to pay anything until December of next year. It gives the customer time. It takes off all of, just that heavy burden that they feel. And it just helps out the whole situation, I think. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I can just hear it in your voice. Like you have such a calming voice. And is that part of your approach?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
don't want to go in aggressive with any customer.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. You said, I want to take, go ahead. I'll let you finish. You said you want to take more of a low, a low pressure, calm approach. Let's tell us about that.
Low pressure, calm, absolutely. I don't want to go in and call a customer and go straight to the estimate. You
Okay.
know, you have to get to know the customer first. I tell the customer, we're literally all in this together because we are. We are all in this together. And if we don't have each other's back, who else has our back?
Hmm.
Seriously.
And it sounds like they love to hear that.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. But of course, you have to get comfortable with them first in order to let them know that you have their back because not everyone's going to say, okay, well, I don't think she has my back. But
Hmm.
you have to get comfortable. You have to ask those important questions first to ease into that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I've heard you mention something in the past about what your job is. My job is to help you to get this project across the goal line. Share that with me. It's so beautiful. You've shared it on a
Yeah.
prior call with a bunch of uh, uh, sales recovery agents that we had. But take me through that and what you say to the client to just get them to feel comfortable that you really are on the same page.
Absolutely. So, of course, after we gone over the financing, the warranty, the type of system they want, and they're just not ready to go at that current time, I let them know it's okay. Take your time. I will be here with you through to the finish line.
And when you say that, what do you mean? I'll be here with you through the finish line. What does that mean?
Absolutely. So it's a process. We're in a race, a winning race, right? To invest in their home. They want to invest in their home. They want to add more value to their home. So with that being said, from start to finish, from the start of this conversation to scheduling your install system to after you install your system, if you have any more questions, please do not hesitate to give me a call because I am here with you through to the finish line.
And are you giving the client your number to call you, even after the install?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. I actually put it on the top of my estimates under our estimate details. I'll put my direct office number, my work cell number, and my direct email.
Casey, I think I've even heard you offer to review multiple estimates with the client to help them make a decision.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. From other companies to compare and contrast. Absolutely.
Now, when I heard you do it, it was because I got to sit behind you and I was in Parker. You were doing it with a retail lead. Do you do that with all of your clients?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
That's great. So what you'll do is you'll have the client actually take out their estimates. What does that process look like?
That's if the customer feels comfortable with sharing, because a lot of customers don't feel comfortable with sharing. They think it's, honestly absurd. if you will. But it will help if a customer wants to share that information, because we want to make sure that they have value within their estimate. Not a lot of other companies, if I can say, add that value with their warranties. Our refrigerant is covered. It could start from 10, 15, even 20 years. So that's parts and labor covered for 20 years.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that that's entered in every estimate and that they're covered. And of course, we go over labor. Labor is very costly. So we want to make sure that they're covered bumper to bumper. Everything's covered.
Yeah, that's great. And a lot of times when you're looking at these estimates, are you able to see that there is a difference? Where are the big differences that you see when you're comparing estimates? What are those differences that you're looking for or that you see?
Gotcha. So start out costs, of course, from the manufacturer, depending on what manufacturer they choose, which is their air conditioning system, Lennox, Day and Night, Trane, Bosch. So the start out cost, it could be definitely less or even. The manufacturer's warranty from the unit I've chosen. It could be only 10 years parts and labor, or 10 years manufacturer's compressor parts, 1 year labor. And it could just be that's their warranty. So we like to add on our Parker warranty, which again is either 10 years complete parts and labor, 15 years parts and labor, or 20 years parts and labor.
And then when the client hears that, are other competitors able to even compete with that?
I've seen some that are 15, but not 20.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So what a big differentiator.
Absolutely.
So share with me, what are some of the common objections that you get from clients, and how do you handle those?
Absolutely, Kevin. Pricing.
Yeah. Parker's definitely not the cheapest, right? Probably the premier provider. They're probably the most expensive in the marketplace, I would say, maybe. When I say the most expensive, probably the initial investment, but the long-term investment. I'll let you answer. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Pricing and of course time. But the number one objection definitely is pricing.
Okay.
On a daily, we want to make sure that the customer is comfortable with pricing. We see the big ticket number,
so
right? Because
give me
that's
an example,
all we
like
see.
a 25 to 30. Let's just say a $30,000 job.
Absolutely. So if it's 30,000, I totally understand. It's a huge investment. We do have a program where we can actually break this down for you, if you don't mind me going over that with you, so we can make this affordable for you, because we do understand. So then I tend to go over all of the payment options. I break it down with our net investment, which is what you were stating, Kevin, with finding out what they want their energy efficient monthly bill to be, what they want their minimum monthly payment to be with financing. And then we calculate that, divide it, and then we break it down so that way they can see what they're paying on a daily basis. So it tends to help, definitely.
Yeah, and I would imagine if Parker's in there with a $30,000 job, is it possible that there could be a competitor in there at $22,000?
Absolutely.
And does that bother you? Does that bother you at all, or how do you handle that when there's that big discrepancy?
Of course, it could be hard sometimes, to get the customer, to the finish line. With that being said, because of the big price increase between the two, so I just let them know, I get it, I understand. If they choose to go the other way, I let them know, yes, we're still here for you if you do need anything. But I still don't tend to back down. I offer more value within the estimate. So if it is warranty, if they're just giving 10 and we're giving 15, I'm going to add an extra 5 years on your warranty. I'm going to add that value. And what I've actually tend to been doing lately is adding a surge protector on the system. A surge protector will protect your investment against any electrical fires or shocks. And then I let them know the value of the surge protector. And I want to offer that to you for free. If you can help us fill in the gaps, definitely. We'll get you going.
So I think there's some genius here. What I just heard you say was we want to add at times some value added items, a surge protector, 3 to 5 years of additional warranty. Maybe even if you've got the flexibility or to add an air scrubber, you're talking about you are able to add some value added items that you've been authorized to give, correct? That you've been authorized in order to be able to bring it across the finish line. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I love that idea. I love the idea of value added items that don't have a lot of labor attached to them, correct? So it's not going to cause the job to go into 2 days if it was originally a 1-day job, or if it was a 2-day job, the stuff that Casey gives away is not going to cause it to go to 3 days, correct? I'm sure that's...
No, you're right.
Yeah. And so how do you...
one full day.
Go ahead.
Oh, it's just one full day. It's with the install. Mm-hmm.
And so do you have a list of value-added items that your company, that Parker has given you, that you're allowed to be flexible with? Or what's that list look like?
Absolutely. So it's in our pricing book, of course. There's a breakdown. And yes, we do, of course, always get permission from our managers to make sure we can offer what we're offering. But yes, it's right there on the estimate. We're able to just hit added service, see what task code we can add. And then, of course, after it enters in on the estimate, it adds the value.
What I love there is you're adding more value for the client, so they're getting more without having to discount price.
Yes, sir.
You know what I also heard? I heard you say, if you can help us fill in some gaps. Will you?
Yes.
We don't give them something for nothing. Will you explain to our listeners what that means?
Absolutely. Yes. So basically, if I'm in my mind, if I'm going to do something for you, I'm helping you out. Can you help me out, please? That's all I'm asking. So it helps. It really does.
You know, in addition to pricing as a common objection that you come up against, Casey, what are some of the other objections that get thrown out at you?
Okay, so I will say, if the customer does not live in the United States, if they're from Canada, their dollar, of course, is higher than our dollar. So what we have to do, definitely we have to discount because they want to see the difference in the value, from what they see in their value. So we have to take some discounts out. Definitely. Value one, it still wouldn't mean more to them than it would mean to our customers here in the United States. Or in the States here. So we just have to help them out with the total cost. Definitely.
Okay. Do you ever get a client that says, hey, I like what you're showing me, Casey. I like the salesperson that came out, but I really need to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll give them a couple days. Definitely.
So could we go into role together? Like pretend like I'm a client. Like, hey, I love what you did, Casey, but I think we need some time to think about it.
I totally understand, Kevin. I really do. It's a huge investment. I get that. If you do need the day, I will be here this evening until 7. If not, you can call me tomorrow. And I can give you my direct number as well and my direct work cell, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I'd love it. I'd love it. And
Perfect.
So you give me your cell, and then what does that do? What do you do with that information with that client now? Are you putting them in a file, a tickler file, or what are you doing there?
Yes. So, of course, I then send my my title I let them know if you need me, call me with any questions that you have. I'll send that text out. I also send a backup email. So we have a script where when we leave a voicemail to every customer, and then that voicemail is also the same in the email. So it has to mirror what we said in the voicemail.
Okay.
And so with that being said, when we leave the voicemail, we're asking, we're calling on behalf of the comfort consultant with either Parker and Sons and Home Depot, Costco. We just wanted to make sure he was knowledgeable. He answered all of your questions. And then we go into asking the customer or just letting them know, after looking over your account, we do have some opportunities to make your offer look a lot more interesting to you. So that is the key there. So that is what gets them to call us back. And so we say, give them the phone number, of course, our direct line. We look forward to speaking with you soon. And again, thank you so much for choosing Parker and Sons. So it helps.
Yeah. And then, and do you give them your direct line to call, or how do they get a hold of you?
Yes, I give them my direct office number, but at the same time, when I'm leaving the voicemail, I give my direct office number, but then I put my information at the top under the estimate details with my direct office number, my work cell, and my direct email. And then I send the same thing over in email.
That's great.
So you want to make sure that you cross out everything: voicemail, email, and cell phone.
Okay. So let's go back to the phone call that you're having with a client. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, how do you begin to move that conversation towards a successful conclusion? Meaning, you know that the client is communicating to you. You're now moving it towards, how do you move it towards closing the sale? What are some of your techniques that you do to move that forward?
Absolutely. So once we've got over all of the important questions, of course, financing, the warranty, because they want to make sure that they're comfortable and they're protected, from front to back end with their system. Again, it's a huge investment. As far as if there's anything that's added in with the unit, whether it be a return for more airflow. Once we get over all of that, I then ask them, it gives me time to bring in that question. Can we get this installed for you? Is this something we can do for you? Then if I get a no, we tend to pause. That's when I add in my accessory tools, the surge protector, the air scrubber, and that's honestly the only thing we can offer now. But those are the only two things that honestly tends to help me get over that hump.
Okay, if they've said no, that's when you then add in the value-added items.
Exactly.
Okay, and are you ever adding additional years of warranty?
Absolutely, yes,
okay,
sir.
So
if that's something that they're wanting, absolutely. But if we've already built that value and they're still kind of on the fence, that would be the only thing that we could do. Would be adding that surge protector or the IAQ for air scrubber.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about the relationship that you have with the salespeople.
Absolutely. You have to make sure that you understand your salesperson's lingo, meaning their conversation with the customers on how they are on site. The notes they put in every call. You want to make sure that your salesman puts in really good key detailed notes so that way you know what you're getting yourself into the next day. Because if you don't, you just don't know what to do when you call the customer, honestly, because you don't know what's out there. You don't know what's going to come to you.
And are you communicating with the salesperson that much about a particular client? Are you calling them specifically before you call Mrs. Jones, or what's that like?
No, it's more so if I have a question that I can't answer, I actually chime the salesman in while I'm on the phone with the customer.
Okay.
It really does help.
Okay, so you at times you'll get the salesperson on the phone with you while you're on the client, or while you're with the client or talking to the client. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So in order to do 9 million in a year, you got to be good every day.
It's long days and long nights.
Every day you've got to be good.
Yes, sir.
There's an old saying, leaders can never have a bad day.
For
And
sure.
you're clearly the leader. You are the leader in the clubhouse. So how do you keep yourself inspired every day?
God. Seriously, like he lifts me up every day. He strengthens me, he guides me, protects me, and just helps me with everything that I do.
Okay. So
Seriously.
And so is that what keeps you wanting to perform at such a high level, or what is it that does that? Like for you to keep pushing and keep going at it every day, what's driving you?
My son, my fiance, they are my backbone. I mean, my fiance works from home as well. So we tend to, of course, come together, and whether it be lunch and, dinner, and we get everything ready before my son gets home from school. It takes a village.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. But having that good connection, with God first, and, in your household, it really does. It really does help. It really does.
Yeah.
I just take it a day at a time. And if I don't get what I need done at that current time, when someone's asking me for something, if I don't get it done, it won't get done. So I have to make sure it gets done right then and there. If a customer asks me to do something for him or her, it has to get done right then and there, because I want to make sure that I'm connecting with the customer, making sure that I'm doing what I need for that customer, and it gets followed through to the end.
That's great.
Definitely. But to answer your question more in depth, my Excel sheets, my reports that I pull up, it really does help me. And it helps guide me through each and every day. So I pull every one for every day. I add in color coding. So I use red for hot. I use pink for, mild or medium.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I just leave the others alone if they don't tend to, either want to do something, if they're waiting for a next year, for a couple of years. It helps me. It guides me. So, and I also put in my notes after I speak with the customer into a hot list. So I have my own personal hot list that I go through, aside from, the happy calls from the next day, for each customer that I've made a connection to call on for next follow-ups.
Okay. That's great. So, and what color do you use if it's cold? If it's cold,
yeah, that's blue.
That's blue?
Yes.
Yes. Because I think that I want to talk to you about a little bit about our common service language item, and I think this kind of translates perfectly into this. It's easier to have a new baby than to revive the dead. When you hear that, because we talked a little bit about this before the show, what comes to your mind, especially when you're thinking about the red and the pink and the blue? It's easier to have a new baby than to revive the dead. What comes to your mind when you think about that?
Time. Time is of the essence.
Okay.
You don't want to waste your time on old leads that, are just kind of just taking time out of your day. You want to focus your time more so on the new leads, the new babies.
Mm-hmm. And how do you know when to let something go?
If you've called and followed up on a customer, and this is like maybe the third or fourth time, and they're just like, no, I just can't do it. Even though we've already went over financing and, all of the things that could help the customer get through to the finish line, um, it feels like it's done, so you still leave your contact information. You send that email, you still make that connection, but just kind of just back off a little bit so they can do what they need to and get their head wrapped around everything.
Yeah, you said time, and I would also say your energy. You only have a certain amount of energy. It's a limited resource, and you want to make sure you're focused that energy on worthwhile situations. How do you know though that, okay, how do you prevent somebody that is maybe new that says, oh, okay, so Casey's saying that if the client gives me a no, then I need to move on. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is you would still keep it in, honestly, your Excel sheet. If you want to make something personal for you, you would keep it in your Excel sheet. We do have a follow-up screen that we go through in Service Titan. You can push it out to maybe 2-3 months from the time you called the customer last, so you can follow up with them to see if they had any further questions, to see if that now is the time for them to replace their air conditioning system, because you don't know, something could have happened in between that time. They could have lost a job, or now all of a sudden they have a job, so it tends to help definitely to go to your follow-up screen so you can follow up with that customer.
Yeah. Yes. And this common service language, it's easier to have a new baby than to revive the dead. We're talking to salespeople about this as well, comfort consultants or comfort advisors, meaning their job is to give it everything they have in that house. We want them to get as great as they possibly can at getting a client comfortable spending $20,000-$30,000 on a system in 3 hours. So I've always shared that, look, you need to do a $50,000 presentation and then ask the client for $30,000, and they feel like they're getting a great deal. So you have got to build so much value into the presentation that you're giving them that they feel like, oh my gosh, I got a great deal at $30,000. And so when we're talking to salespeople about it's easier to have a new baby, is once they've left that house, the chances of them closing that deal are slim to none. So do everything you can. As great as Casey is, and as great as the sales recovery department is in each of our companies, there's nothing that compares to that one-on-one interaction, and the time to sell that job is right then and right there when you're in front of that client. And then, you know what? If you're unable to do it, that's where Casey comes in. Let her take it from there. Let the team of sales recovery agents take it from there. As long as you've given it everything you can, because there is an important stat that we track in our companies, which is first call close rate. We are still a first call, one call close company. Even though we have sales recovery agents, we have to understand that, look, your job as a comfort consultant is to do everything you can to bring that ball across the finish line. And if you're unable to, move on, hand it over to Casey. Do you want to expand on that at all?
Absolutely. Please transfer it over to me. I'll take the call.
No. Do you want to expand on what I was just sharing there? Is there anything that comes to mind as I'm sharing that?
Absolutely. Yes. Please be respectful to all your clients. Get to know them on a personal level. Definitely. Because if you don't build your rapport, just get to know them. And then after that, you can then go into your estimate and try to soft close your customer. Because I tend to run into a lot of customers that don't like the aggressive approach. So be respectful, be mindful of your customer, and just help them out, because again, we are all in this together. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Do you think what percentage of companies what percentage of companies do you think are actually calling back, in your experience, are actually calling back behind their estimates that are not sold?
Good question. Maybe about 15-20%.
So 15 to 20% you think are actually, you think they have a sales recovery department that's following up? Is that, and are you sometimes competing against other companies?
Yes, we are. Yes, sir.
And there are other recovery agents after the fact, after the call?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's happening, but you think it's about 15%. So if I
That's
think
just
of,
a guess.
15 to 20%.
Yeah.
So the fact that if we are just following up behind our clients, showing them that we care, showing them that we're concerned, that in and of itself is going to create more business for us. That's what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, tell me about some challenges you faced along your journey and what you had to overcome to get where you are today. Because I'll tell you, I think sometimes, Casey, you're a fish that doesn't see water. Like, you don't even know how good you are. Like, we're here celebrating you doing close to 9 million. And I'm not even sure you realize that how exceptional your work is. But I know anybody that's in the role that you're in has faced challenges. Those that are the most successful have faced huge challenges and have overcome them. So share with us how you overcome some of the challenges that you faced.
For sure. Of course, loss, insecurities, anxiety, honestly carrying the weight of everyone sometimes. And I say that because we are. After we call, after the comfort consultant comes out and we talk to the customer, we have to take it from there as a sales recovery agent. If we do not sell that job after the comfort consultant goes out, we're not putting, food in their mouths, their family mouths, the installers' mouths, Parker and Sons. It's the latter, So I want to make sure that I try to get the customer through to the finish line on every call. And if I don't, honestly, it does tend to get to me, but I want to make sure that I'm giving my all on every single call to every customer. Definitely.
That's great. That's great. So in closing, what inspirational message would you give to your fellow team members at Wrench, and specifically maybe a new sales recovery agent? What would Casey tell them?
Absolutely. I will say this. Don't be so hard on yourself. Take it one day at a time. Believe in yourself. You can do it. You can and you will. You got this. Definitely. Seriously, because we tend to, if you have a set of technicians or comfort consultants, as I should say, you have a list of those calls that the comfort consultants ran the day before, and you have the other calls that they ran days prior, months prior, and you have 10 sold for this comfort consultant, you have 5 sold for this comfort consultant, and you only have 2 sold for this comfort consultant. You tend to feel a little down because you're not doing as much as you can do for that comfort consultant. Again, that goes back to me saying we have to feed their families. We have to feed them. So if we're not doing what we can on their end, it's okay. Sometimes we have to still be able to do the work on the back end. Call the comfort consultant. See what they need more help with. It could be a day that they couldn't get over. If they just want to call you to vent out, just let them vent it out, but keep that connection. It'll be okay. Definitely.
I love it. I love it. Casey, you're special.
Thank you, guys.
Casey, you've got a wonderful heart. You're so compassionate. I can tell that you are a joy to work with at Parker. I just appreciate you taking the time with us. Your results speak for themselves. And I just want to encourage you, or I just want you to know that I'm blown away. I know Amanda's blown away. I know Stefani, who pulls the data for Olive Wrench, is blown away by what you've done, and just appreciate you being a leader. So thank you. Thank you. We're going to wrap up. We've had a special hour with Casey, and as you can see, she's a jewel. And I always just want to encourage people to always look to make your future bigger than your past. And that goes for you, Casey. You've done a lot of great things, and you know what? There's a lot more coming in the future. So always make your future bigger than your past. So team, here's to a bigger future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care, Casey.
Thank you. You as well.